Vice President JD Vance and his wife, Usha Vance, landed in Greenland to meet American troops at Pituffik Space Base in the northwest, where temperatures plummeted to -3 degrees Fahrenheit. The visit comes amid growing tensions over a potential American takeover bid. The second couple jetted off for the occasion, and Usha Vance appeared visibly excited during the trip. For the frigid conditions, she opted for a sage green N3B parka from Alpha Industries, priced at $250, a design originally crafted to shield Air Force ground and crew members from extreme cold weather climates. Beneath the jacket, she layered a cozy beige wool sweater, balancing warmth with understated elegance. Completing her look, she sported Ray-Ban RB 3016 Club Master Square sunglasses in Havana/rose gold with B15 brown lenses, adding a chic touch to her cold weather ensemble. JD Vance complimented her in a Rothko N3B parka, a comfortable and warm military-style coat suited for the frigid conditions. The vice president did not speak to the waiting cameras as he arrived on the island, instead entering an armored vehicle briefly after disembarking from Air Force 2. "It's cold as SH here. Nobody told me," Vance said to U.S. troops, prompting laughs in the audience. Speaking to U.S. troops at the base, he said it was a pretty cool thing to be the first vice president to ever visit Greenland. He added, "The president is really interested in Arctic security, as you all know, and it's only going to get bigger over the coming decades." The U.S. delegation then received a briefing on the work of the Space Force in the northern frontier, though most of it was closed to journalists. Vance and Usha are being accompanied by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who admitted full responsibility for accidentally adding a journalist to a group chat of senior officials discussing planned airstrikes in Yemen. As well as Energy Secretary Chris Wright, Utah Senator Mike Lee, and former Homeland Security Advisor Julia Neshiwat, who is Waltz's wife. The trip is historic, the first time a sitting vice president has seen Pituffik, and the farthest north one has ever traveled, by a long shot. It also demonstrates the Trump-Vance administration's clear commitment to strengthening America's presence in the Arctic, which is integral to our military's anti-ballistic missile and satellite defense efforts. Unfortunately, the visit also comes on the heels of an ugly, dishonest spat initiated by Denmark, which, after receiving bad press following decades of mistreating the Greenlandic people, is deflecting with attacks on the Second Lady. Every year, the people of Greenland host the Avanada Kimmasurjua, a national dog sled race that allows islanders to compete for top musher status. However, the prestigious race has faced significant financial challenges in recent years. To help foot the bill, the U.S. consulate in Nuuk, which President Trump reopened in 2020 after it lay dormant for 7 decades, provided a multi-year grant to the Dog Sledding Association that organizes the event, which will help Greenlanders transport their dog sled teams across the island in advance of the race. When several of the organizers and sponsors of the Avanada Kimmasurjua extended invitations to Usha Vance to attend, with the chairman of the association even asking her to wave the flag to kick off the race. It appeared to be a moment of genuine warmth between the Greenlandic and American peoples. The trip presented an opportunity to deepen our bonds and allow the Second Lady to learn more about Greenland's culture by visiting Sisimiut and participating in one of the island's greatest annual rituals. However, after word got out that Usha Vance had agreed to join, Copenhagen became apoplectic. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen attacked the trip as unacceptable and warned that she would stand against it, a shockingly undiplomatic, hostile reaction to someone attending a dog sledding race in your former colony. The Danish government's attacks ended up snowballing into a much larger smear campaign. Why all the touchiness from Copenhagen? Perhaps it's because of the recent attention that Denmark has received for its mistreatment of the Greenlandic people over the centuries they've ruled over them. Last year, a group of Greenlanders launched a historic lawsuit against the Danish government for the mass IUD birth control campaign that it allegedly waged in the 1960s and 1970s against thousands of women on the island, many without their knowledge. And in 2020, Prime Minister Frederiksen was forced to apologize to Greenlandic children who had been removed from the island to be re-educated in Denmark as part of a failed social experiment. More generally, the Danish government faces increasing discontent from the Greenlandic people over what islanders view as neglect and underinvestment from Copenhagen, which has resulted in the decay of what limited infrastructure does exist across the island. So it follows that the Danes may be on edge as President Trump calls for Greenlanders' right to self-determination. Regardless, the Trump-Vance administration looks magnanimous in the face of Denmark's diplomatic slights. Vice President Vance is doing the right thing by joining his wife on the trip, and Americans should applaud the White House's forward-looking goal of boosting U.S. leadership in the Arctic. As Russia and China ramp up their own investments in the region, never has it been more important for America to step up and ensure that our military presence in Greenland, an integral part of the anti-ballistic missile shield that protects the North American continent, grows even stronger. And as Americans, we should celebrate the important lesson it sends to the Danish government. The US, Greenland, and Europe all benefit from stronger American ties with Greenland. And our nation will not be cowed or intimidated by those who fail to recognize this basic reality. Speaking from the Arctic, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Washington's ambitions for the Arctic nation had nothing to do with Russia. In short, America's plans in relation to Greenland are serious, Putin said Thursday during an address to Russia's Arctic Forum in Murmansk. These plans have deep historical roots, he continued. And it's clear that the US will continue to systematically pursue its geostrategic, military, political, and economic interests in the Arctic. As for Greenland, this is a matter for two specific countries, he added. It has nothing to do with us. Putin's comments coincided with remarks by President Donald Trump, who on Thursday doubled down on his ambitions for the Arctic nation despite international rebuke, and said, "We need Greenland for international safety and security. We need it. We have to have it. It's an island from a defensive posture, and even offensive posture is something we need," he told radio host Vince Colyanisi. When you look at the ships going up their shore by the hundreds, it's a busy place. Trump acknowledged he was unsure if the people of Greenland wanted to become US citizens, but he said it was important to convince them. Greenland citizens and leadership have repeatedly made clear they are not interested in becoming a part of the US and are seeking full independence from Denmark. As Trump claims the Arctic nation is needed for US security, Russian officials are now touting the idea that Washington and Moscow could expand economic cooperation in the Arctic. "We are open to considering different investment opportunities that we can do jointly with the US in certain sectors approved by the Russian government," Putin's envoy for foreign investment and economic cooperation, Kirill Dmitriev, said according to the BBC report, which also noted the Kremlin official has already been in direct talks with the US. "We are open for investment cooperation in the Arctic. That could be in logistics or other areas beneficial to Russia and to the US," Dmitriev added. But before deals can be done, the war in Ukraine needs to end. Russia has stalled US attempts to secure a ceasefire in Ukraine by laying out conditions European nations have made clear they will not agree to, like lifting sanctions and booting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky from office, which security experts have long warned is Putin's chief aim to cement control over the former Soviet nation. Putin reiterated this goal during his address from the Arctic and said, "We could, of course, discuss with the United States, even with European countries, and of course with our partners and friends, under the auspices of the UN, the possibility of establishing a transitional administration in Ukraine. It remains highly unlikely Ukraine or its European partners, including France and the UK who sit on the UN Security Council, will agree to Putin's conditions." It's the end of today's video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.